Let me tell you a story. A Christmas story, but not the kind wrapped in ribbons or sitting under a tree. This one begins with a pregnant woman trembling in the cold, and ends with a man in a Santa suit revealing a truth that changes everything. A millionaire thought he destroyed his wife on Christmas Eve. He didn't know he had just awakened a ghost from the past, a ghost wearing red velvet, black boots, and carrying a vengeance 30 years in the making. This is the story of Emily Carter, and the Christmas her entire life unraveled, only to be rebuilt by a stranger she never knew was hers. Let's begin. Emily Carter had always believed Christmas was the season of miracles. Growing up in foster care, she used to stare out of frost-covered windows and imagine someone, anyone, coming to claim her. Someone with warm hands, a gentle smile, a sense of belonging. But no one ever came. Years later, when she met Daniel Carter, she thought she finally found the family she'd been wishing for. He was a clean-cut, polished young millionaire. A rising tech CEO, hazel eyes, Hollywood smile, the type of man who looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine designed to make women fall in love. And Emily? She was calm, soft-spoken, kind, the sort of woman who said thank you even when she should have said no. Daniel loved that about her, or at least he pretended to. For the first few years, their marriage looked perfect. Lavish Christmas parties, private vacations, matching pajamas. And when Emily got pregnant, she thought life had finally rewarded her. She couldn't have been more wrong. It began slowly. Missed dinners, late nights, secretive phone calls. Then one day, 7 months pregnant, Emily walked into the living room and saw Daniel sitting on the couch with a look she'd never seen before. Disgust, not anger, not frustration, but disgust, like she was rotting in front of him. He didn't even hide it, and from that moment on, the man she married didn't exist. Emily felt it, and the baby felt everything she felt. Stress, fear, loneliness. By December, Daniel had moved into the guest room. By Christmas Eve, he had moved on entirely. The house that once echoed with laughter now felt like a mausoleum. Emily would wake up in the middle of the night, her hand instinctively reaching across the bed, only to find cold, empty sheets. She told herself it was work stress, that he'd come around once the baby arrived, that love could survive this winter. But deep down, in the part of her heart that still remembered being that little girl pressed against the foster home window, she knew she was being abandoned again. Before we continue deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Emily woke up that morning excited to celebrate. The baby kicked early, almost like he was dancing. She made breakfast, hot chocolate, turned on Christmas music. She even wrapped a gift for Daniel, a custom-made baby bracelet with their son's name engraved. She placed it on the counter. But Daniel breezed in wearing a suit and cologne, heavy enough to announce he had somewhere far more important to be. He didn't greet her. He didn't look at her belly. He didn't ask how she slept. Instead, he said, "Don't wait up. I have work." But it was Christmas Eve. Emily stared at him, confused. "Daniel, it's Christmas Eve. Can't you stay home just this once?" He paused at the door, his hand on the knob, and for a brief moment Emily thought she saw something flicker in his eyes. Regret, maybe, guilt. But then it was gone, replaced by cold indifference. "I said don't wait up, Emily." He was already gone. The door clicked shut, with a finality that made her stomach drop. She stood there in her oversized sweater, one hand cradling her belly, the other gripping the edge of the counter. The Christmas music playing in the background suddenly felt mocking. She turned it off. The silence was worse. By evening, a storm rolled in, snow thick, wind sharp. Emily sat alone on the couch, still waiting for him to come home. But he didn't. At 8:47 p.m., her phone buzzed. A notification, a video. Someone had tagged her. She clicked it and dropped the phone. Daniel was out, dancing at a luxury Christmas party with a woman who looked like she was auditioning to be the Grinch's mistress. And the caption read, "Daniel Carter finally ditches the charity case. Merry Christmas." Her hands shook, breath hitched. She tasted salt. She wasn't sure if it was tears or heartbreak cracking open inside her. But the worst part wasn't the video. It was the moment he spotted the camera and kissed the other woman. Not gently, deliberately, like he wanted the world, especially Emily, to see. The comment section was a cesspool. Dozens of people she'd considered friends, acquaintances, colleagues, all laughing, all celebrating. One comment read, "Finally upgraded." Another said, "Who gets pregnant and thinks a millionaire's gonna stay?" Emily's vision blurred. She tried to stand, but her legs gave out. She collapsed onto the floor, her phone still glowing beside her, the video looping endlessly. The baby kicked hard, as if protesting, as if asking, "Why are we hurting?" She whispered into the empty room, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, baby." At 9:12 p.m., Daniel finally walked into the house. Snow on his shoulders, perfume on his collar, arrogance dripping like oil. Emily tried to speak. "Daniel, what?" But he cut her off. No emotion, no hesitation, just 5 cold words. "I'm divorcing you. Effective tonight." Her whole body froze. She was 7 months pregnant, alone, exhausted. She whispered, "Why?" He smirked. "Because you were a mistake, and I don't raise mistakes." The baby kicked hard, almost like he was fighting back. Emily stepped backward, tears blurring her vision. And then Daniel did something that would change the entire course of this story. He signed the divorce papers he had already prepared, placed them on the counter, and walked out, leaving his pregnant wife alone on Christmas Eve. Emily stared at the papers. Her name was already typed. The terms were already decided. He'd planned this for weeks, maybe months. While she'd been choosing baby names and painting the nursery soft blue, he'd been meeting with lawyers, calculating his exit. She looked at the gift she'd wrapped for him, still sitting unopened on the counter, the baby bracelet inside, a symbol of the family she thought they'd become. With trembling hands, she picked up the box and threw it across the room. It hit the wall and shattered, just like everything else. Emily's chest tightened. Her breaths came shallow. Pain shot down her spine, stress-induced contractions. She grabbed her coat and tried to get to the car, but the ice on the driveway was thick, too thick, and she slipped. Hard. She screamed as pain tore through her abdomen. But Daniel was long gone. Her phone was dead. The snow kept falling. She curled into herself, shaking, praying, whispering, "Please, someone, help." The cold bit into her skin. Her fingers went numb. She could feel the baby moving frantically inside her, distressed, struggling. She thought about all the Christmases she'd spent alone as a child, all the prayers she'd whispered into the dark, all the hope she'd carried that someday it would be different. And here she was, 32 years old, pregnant, dying on a driveway in the snow, alone, again. Her vision started to fade. The edges of the world went soft, and then a pair of boots stopped beside her, large, heavy, snow-dusted. She looked up and saw a man dressed in a full Santa Claus suit. He knelt beside her gently, placing a warm, gloved hand on her shoulder. His voice was deep, calm, safe. "Emily, I've been looking for you." She blinked. How did he know her name? He lifted her effortlessly, carried her to a black SUV parked at the curb, and gave orders to the driver like a man used to being obeyed. As they sped to the hospital, Emily drifted in and out of consciousness, but she heard him, and what she heard didn't make sense. "You're not losing this baby. Not tonight. Not after everything. I should have found you sooner. I promised your mother I'd protect you." Her eyes shot open. Her mother? She'd never known her mother. She died before Emily could walk. Who was this man? The SUV smelled like leather and pine. The heater blasted warm air. The man in the Santa suit held her hand the entire ride, his thumb gently brushing her knuckles. His presence was steady, unshakable. Emily tried to speak, but her throat was too tight. He shook his head softly. "Don't talk. Just breathe. You're safe now." And for the first time in months, Emily believed it. In the hospital room, doctors worked while Santa, still fully dressed, paced like a man ready to break the earth in half. When Emily stabilized, he finally sat beside her, removed his fake beard, removed his hat. And underneath was a man in his 60s, with ocean grey eyes that looked exactly like hers. He swallowed hard. "Emily, I'm your father." She froze. He explained everything. He was a billionaire businessman. He fell in love with her mother decades ago, but her mother was sick, terminal, and pushed him away to protect his legacy. He didn't know Emily survived. He didn't know she was out there, Not until 2 months ago, when he saw her name on a charity list and recognized her mother's handwriting in the archived documents. And when he realized she was married to Daniel and suffering, he searched for her, every day, quietly, until tonight. Emily's mind raced. Her entire life, she'd believed she was unwanted, that her mother had abandoned her, that she had no family, no roots, no history. But here was a man, a stranger, telling her she'd been loved all along, that her mother had made an impossible choice, that she'd never been forgotten. Tears streamed down Emily's face, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming weight of finally being seen. Her father reached into his coat and pulled out a photograph, yellowed, creased. It showed a young woman with Emily's smile, holding a newborn wrapped in a pink blanket. "Your mother took this the day you were born. She made me promise that if I ever found you, I'd give it to you. She wanted you to know you were loved." Emily took the photo with shaking hands. She stared at her mother's face. The resemblance was undeniable. She whispered, "Why didn't you find me sooner?" He closed his eyes, pain etched into every line of his face. "I tried. God, I tried. But your mother's family hid you, changed your name, moved you through the foster system. By the time I had the resources to search properly, the trail had gone cold. I never stopped looking. I swear to you, I never stopped. How would you feel if you discovered, after a lifetime of believing you were alone, that someone had been searching for you all along? What would you say to a parent who finally found you? Let us know in the comments." Emily stared at him, tears streaming, but not from pain, from belonging, from finally being seen. Her father squeezed her hand. "You're not alone anymore, and your son will never be treated like a mistake." The next morning, while Emily slept with her newborn beside her, her father went to visit Daniel, and the conversation was not pleasant. Daniel learned that Emily's father owned the company Daniel worked with. He owned the land under Daniel's mansion. He funded Daniel's biggest investment contracts, and he had the legal power to dismantle Daniel's entire empire in a single phone call. By noon, Daniel had nothing left. The news spread fast. Daniel Carter, the Golden Boy CEO, had lost everything overnight. His investors pulled out. His board demanded his resignation. His mansion was foreclosed. The woman he'd been with at the Christmas party? She disappeared the moment his bank accounts froze. Daniel tried calling Emily's father, begging for mercy, but the call went straight to voicemail. The message was simple. "You abandoned my daughter on Christmas Eve. You called my grandson a mistake. There is no mercy for men like you." Daniel sat alone in a bare apartment, the divorce papers he'd so eagerly signed now his only possessions. He'd wanted to be free of Emily. Now he was free of everything. Emily woke up to find her father sitting beside her, gently rocking her newborn son. He looked at her with the softest smile. "He has your mother's eyes," Emily whispered. "Does he have a name?" Her father nodded. "Let's give him one together," she cried. Not out of sadness, not out of fear, but because after a lifetime of loneliness, a stranger in a Santa suit had given her the one gift she never expected. Family, real family. Over the next few weeks, Emily moved into her father's home, a sprawling estate with rooms that smelled like cinnamon and firewood. Her son grew stronger every day, and for the first time in her life, Emily experienced what it felt like to belong. Her father set up a trust fund for her son. He gave Emily access to resources she'd never dreamed of. But more than that, he gave her something money couldn't buy: presence. He was there for every late-night feeding, every diaper change, every moment of doubt. He told her stories about her mother, about their love, about the sacrifices she'd made. And slowly, Emily began to heal. One evening, as snow fell softly outside, Emily sat by the fireplace with her father. She looked at him and asked, "Why the Santa suit?" He chuckled. "Your mother used to say that Christmas was the time when impossible things became possible. I figured if I was going to find you, I'd do it her way." Emily smiled. She finally understood. Miracles don't always look the way you expect. Sometimes they come disguised. Sometimes they arrive late. But they always come when you need them most. And that is how a millionaire tried to destroy his pregnant wife on Christmas, but instead awakened the one man in the world who would burn down heaven and earth to protect her, her father, in disguise. On Christmas Eve, sometimes miracles don't come wrapped in ribbons. Sometimes they come in a red velvet suit. So here's my question for you. Have you ever been abandoned by someone you trusted? Have you ever felt completely alone, only to discover you weren't? And if you were Emily, could you forgive? Could you move forward? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this story moved you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the best gift you can give someone is hope. Thanks for watching. And remember, no matter how dark it gets, there's always someone searching for you. You're never as alone as you think. Merry Christmas.